What do you do if you want an open relationship, but your boyfriend doesn't? You are not the first, you are not alone, and we're gonna get through this. So keep watching. But first, hey there. If you don't already know me, my name is Brian G. Murphy. I'm an activist, educator, and certified relationship coach, and I'm here to help you build and sustain relationships that are fun and fulfilling. When couples talk about opening up their relationship, it's been my experience that that conversation is usually instigated by one person. Someone has thought about it, wants it, maybe has read about it, and brings up the conversation. Sometimes the other person in the relationship is super jazzed about it, has also been thinking about it, and they can just like hit the ground running right off the gate. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the other person in the relationship is hesitant, has questions, is unsure, or maybe like doesn't want it. If that is the situation that you find yourself in, where you want an open relationship, but your boyfriend doesn't, we're gonna figure out where you go from here. Ultimately, you've got three options. You can break up right now, you can stay together and stay monogamous, or you can wait and see what the future holds. Or you could cheat or just sort of plow ahead and start having sex with other people and telling him about it without his consent, but I definitely don't recommend you do that. If you're watching this video, I think that you might be inclined to lean towards that third option of staying together, waiting, and figuring out what the future might hold, seeing if you can work through this together. Here are some things that you can think through to help guide that process and ultimately land you on where you need to be. Be honest about your limits. If you know for certain that something isn't really yet for consideration, or you know for certain that something is an absolute must-have, just share that. It's going to come up eventually, and putting that out on the table is going to make talking about everything else that much easier because you're like grounded in reality. You're not like waiting to dull things out. You can also be honest that while you know this is eventually going to be a problem, that you're like willing to take time and go through this process before sort of like rushing into something. Try to see things from your partner's perspective. Spend a little bit less time trying to convince him to open up your relationship and a little bit more time trying to understand him, his perspective, his concerns, and his desires. Remember that you don't have to decide on this and figure it all out right away. I know that discovering non-monogamy can feel exhilarating and liberating and super exciting. I remember when I first realized that this was an option, I wanted to charge in, but you don't have to charge in right away. You've got your whole life ahead of you, and so taking some time to process this and collaborate with and be on the same page with this person that you're in a relationship and that you care a lot about is going to ultimately be worth it. Try to move through this together as partners rather than sort of thinking of yourself as wanting to run away and your partner is holding you back. Also remember that at some point you're going to have to make a decision. I know I just said to take your time, and that is true. And also you have to hold that intention with eventually a decision has to be made. Are you going to open up your relationship? Are you going to stay monogamous? Are you going to break up? If you've been engaged in this conversation for a while now, maybe months or a year or years even, and your partner is still saying, I don't know, or maybe one day, or I'm not sure, or not yet, that's also an answer. And at some point you have to act on that. It's gonna be scary. If you can just accept that and try to make peace with that, become friends with that, it's gonna make this process a whole lot easier. If you're trying to get to a point where neither of you are scared or nervous or unsure about anything, that time is never going to come. And actually, you're going to end up just sort of lingering in this uncomfortableness of will we, won't we, how will we, what will we be like, what's going to happen. Deciding any which way about what to do next is going to be scary. But once you decide, you can then start acting. And once you start acting, it all starts to become real. And when it's real, you can manage it. So with all that in mind, you might be wondering, so what's the outcome? Is this gonna help me convince my boyfriend to open up our relationship? And the answer is, I don't know. That's ultimately up for you and your boyfriend to decide. I also think it's important to remember that choosing to keep a relationship monogamous is just as much of a choice as deciding to open up your relationship. It's an action and it carries risk. I hope that this video has helped you figure out the way forward with you and your boyfriend in your relationship. If you want a little bit more to chew on to figure out if an open relationship is right for you, or maybe you could sit down and watch some videos with your boyfriend to help him figure out if an open relationship is right for him, you go ahead and click on these videos to help you figure out, is an open relationship right for you? And remember to subscribe for new videos every Wednesday afternoon on all things gay, dating, sex, and relationships. Until then, I'll see you soon, and I'll see you over there. Bye for now.